It's the way Singapore wakes up. Wake up, Glenn, Angel, and the Flying Dutchman. Wake up in the morning feeling like Hits 92's Big Show.
Except this morning, it's Angel, the Flying Dutchman, and Daphne Koo, along with Dr Geraldine Tan from the therapy room. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Therapy Tuesday with our resident therapist and psychologist.
Yeah, she's the one that keeps us calm.
And sane.
Makes us realize that life's okay.
It is. It's
This is also
always
perfect. I skipped my therapy this week, so
Oh, there you go.
I'm here on the right day.
This is a free therapy session, by the way. She's not going to bill you for this 40
Oh,
minutes.
thank goodness. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Tan.
So, Dr.
worries.
Jerry, today we're talking about building relationships. Just to build a foundation on that, are you talking about every kind of relationship?
Well, we're just talking about relationships in general, right? Like, I think what sparked off besides Sean giving me a list of all the different things to talk about is also that it was very timely because there was a lot of teens coming in, children coming in, and complaining about not having friends. So we get that a lot at the center. You know, they don't know how to make friends or they cannot sustain relationship. So I thought it was a good time to also talk about it and the dangers of not having a good relationship.
Okay, so in trying to start a decent relationship, where do we begin?
Well, okay, I've mentioned before the 5 pillars. So the social is one of the very essential pillar. So we have physical, intellectual, emotional, social, as well as spiritual. So spirituality, again, in psychology, is not a religion. It's just only one of it. It's your creativity, it's that meditative being that we want to tap on. So social is very, very important, but yet so many people are so weak in it. So I thought we needed to exercise that and build it up a little bit more.
When you say so many people, are you talking about people nowadays, like the new generation, or are you talking about people from our generation? Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
What,
our generation or younger people?
Well, across, right? I think it's not just the older generation, our generation or younger. Notice I said older generation.
Yeah, I know. You're talking about me. I know.
No, or the current generation, you know this. But the current generation do have a genuine issue with the whole relationship, how to form relationship, what is relationship. Sometimes it's so complicated. I think we can have one session just talking about romantic relationship or non-romantic relationship with this particular I think the youth of today, because they have so many
multiple
different
sessions for each one.
Jerry, why are the youngsters today so lacking in social skills like this?
Because of social media.
Is it because they're buried in social media all day?
They think they're very connected, but then you put them in front of someone, they cannot communicate with the other person. They don't know what to say. They don't know where to put their hands. They're so awkward. You know, I think we were just having a little chat earlier and Daphne was saying about, you know, the calls and trying to connect them via the audio calls. Oh, that's so difficult.
It is, though.
It's like impossible because you want to communicate with them in an efficient way without losing tone, with having like the best possible way you can communicate, and yet you end up giving them anxiety before they even pick up the phone call.
Yeah.
You know, they'd rather, they feel, I have a friend who was in a relationship and that the other person said, you know, I want to be able to construct what I want to say before I send it over. That's why I would rather not call. But I feel like you end up losing so much of that personal touch, you know. I get that if long distance is a thing, but they both live in Singapore.
But it's okay to write your thoughts down before having that conversation. It's a different thing to actually send that message before speaking it.
But you see, this is the thing, Jerry. Why do these people need to construct before they?
That's what I'm saying.
But no,
yeah.
but that's okay because for me as well, sometimes when I have a conversation, whether it's with a friend or a partner or anything, I find it's easier for me to write my thoughts down first. Because I find that when I speak it, it's not about being awkward holding a conversation.
Oh, you don't want to be rash in how you react.
Exactly, and I don't want to lose any of my thought process, and I want it in a certain order.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I get that. I think you're an empath, right, Angel?
I have no idea what that means.
So like you consider other people's feelings
All the time.
Yeah.
All the
So
time,
I
yeah.
think for empaths, it's more common to want to construct your message so that your message can get across better. Like it's more efficiently communicated because your receiver you've thought about them when constructing
Yes.
the message.
Yeah.
FD looks so confused.
Jerry, does that mean all our young people are empaths?
I mean, they're more
No.
empathetic nowadays because they want to be connected. No,
I
she's
don't
shaking her
think
head,
so.
no.
I don't think so. No.
No,
But I think
there's
it's a
only
different thing,
small
too.
population. I think it's a very, very small population. I think it's the lack of practice, the lack of exposure. I mean, even at my center, there are times when the interns come in and they are requested or they have to answer calls because people call in for inquiries, right?
Yeah.
They don't just text in or email for inquiries. And when the phone rang, once, I remember this very vividly. When the phone rang, this particular intern ran to me with the phone and go, Jerry, what do I say? What do I say? And I was like,
Hello.
Good morning.
maybe hello would be, in order. And then just state your name and where you're from. Just start with that first, and then you listen to the other person.
Yeah.
But this intern was just wrecked with anxiety, and we had a whole learning curve. And this is a student who was in the university.
Wow. And the 2 years or 2.5 years of COVID didn't help at all, did it? Because it
Yeah.
created more of a behind the screen environment
Of course.
for everybody.
Of course.
And it was all
Yes.
texting, it was all virtual, it was
Yeah.
not in person.
But you know what? On the flip side of that, like youths don't want to interact with people IRL, like in real
In real
life,
life.
and yet everyone goes live. Like they're put their lives on streaming on the internet,
but
like
they're not
Twitch
actually
and-
talking
they're not
to one
interacting.
person.
But isn't that like a juxtaposition? Like I want to say whatever I want to say. I just don't want the feedback. Like I
Exactly.
don't want to have to interact with you, but I want to be real. You
No
know?
engagement.
I think
Isn't that-
it's not that I don't want the feedback. Well, okay, feedback's a nice way of putting it. The way I'd put it is I don't want your opinion.
Right. I just want to feel free to be myself
Yeah.
without having to interact. But isn't interaction the whole point of relationship? Right?
I
Dr.
think
Jerry?
definitely was, you hit something, and I was just thinking about it, right? I think this generation is very interesting. They want people to know their feelings, but they cannot manage somebody else's feelings.
Yes.
Because when
Opposite of
you're-
an empath.
when you're in a conversation or when you're in a relationship, you need to receive the other person's emotions and feelings and then deal with it. But it almost sounds like this generation just wants it one way.
One way,
And
yeah.
for the other person to just be the receptacle of all the different emotions.
So it's not reciprocal at all.
They think it is.
Right,
But they
okay.
But
don't
it's
know
not.
how to deal with it.
When we
Okay.
come back, I'll tell you how I dealt with that problem with my kids. Jerry, this whole thing about texting and not talking and not being able to talk. I used to have this problem with my kids when they hit that early teen stage. So I gave them all phones and I was paying the bill. So I would call.
I already see the flaw in this
Yeah.
for them.
yeah. So I would call and they would not pick up.
Yeah.
I would text. I would get an answer in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah. And I went, why?
And this
Why?
was when there was no WhatsApp. Yeah, these were SMSs.
This was
Yeah,
SMSs,
yeah.
right? And I would go, why? Why can't you pick up the phone? Dad, it's easier for me to text. So I said, I tell you what, okay? As long as you text, I'm not paying your phone bill. When I call, you pick up the phone. And then they learnt that picking up the phone and speaking wasn't that hard.
And it's more efficient too.
Yeah.
You know what my parents did? Got me a pager.
Oh, yeah, I had a pager as well.
So I had so many excuses to not call, but I would find like a payphone to call. But
A
it's-
payphone.
yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So
How do
cute.
you help people, Jerry, with this
Social skills.
problem with social skills?
Okay, this social skills thing is really very delicate. So I'm going to go a little bit more clinical. So some people do find it a bit tough to engage with other people. So you have your introverts, you have those that have been traumatized, that have been bullied, those that are anxious, low confidence, even those with Asperger's, so a clinical disorder or another. So they do find it extremely difficult to deal with another person because of their own disorders or issues. But let's break it down to the different types of relationship. Suddenly, when you're off air, you're like
break it
in
down.
red mode.
Yeah.
Okay, types of relationship. So there's functional, there's transactional, there's purposeful, life-giving, and lifelong relationships.
Okay.
Okay.
What is functional?
So functional is we play a function, we play a role.
Like a work
And-
role, like a colleague?
It can be a work role, it can be a group mate role. I don't need to interact beyond whatever scope that I have.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Transactional relationship would be
Business.
you have to give me something, I'll give you something. It's
That's
a
what
very,
FD did with his phone, and he said, I pay the bills, you answer the phone. That's transactional, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of,
there are
yes.
overlapping relationships, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. This is not so clear cut, but we can break it down this way. Even in one type of relationship, you can mix and match many different types. Purposeful, that means I have a purpose in this particular interaction. It's a little bit more couched with more compassion, kind of overlapping the life-giving part. That means volunteers are very life-giving. Purposeful, I do things for a purpose, so I might not need anything back from you.
Right.
Lifelong relationships would be your longer
Children,
term romantic
partners.
relationship, family. Correct. Yeah, lifelong relationships. So the different types of relationship also would require different levels of commitment, different levels of interaction. So if you have the transactional one, transactional is when, I just go to a coffee shop that I've never been to and just buy my coffee. Right?
Yeah.
But, it can be a little bit more if, let's say, I often go to this coffee shop and I develop a relationship and I spend a bit more time chatting with that kopi auntie or kopi uncle.
Right.
Actually, we've got a really interesting message on our Facebook page in relationship to what we were saying before. Cindy Faith said that I noticed some teens don't feel comfortable talking on the phones. I've noticed my children finding it difficult to know where the exact location on the phone should be on the ears when they first start using it. They don't even know where to put the phone on their face to talk because they're so used to just looking at
Looking
the
at
face.
it,
Because
right?
it's simple.
And
Hello.
or a lot of people put the phone on
Speakerphone.
speakerphone so
Yeah.
they never have to put it up to their ear. But can you imagine? We grew up with landlines. Like there was only one way to use the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so foreign to us that someone wouldn't know
How to use a phone.
what to do with this.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
so interesting. And then she said ultimately they feel comfortable texting instead because they're just so used to just interacting with the phone.
And their fingers.
That way, so they'd rather look at a screen than another human being and deal with that consequence, and I feel like because of that, instead of learning the different types of relationships that you have with other people, it becomes very simple because it's one relationship.
one way.
Yeah.
It's you and your phone.
Like Dr.
Yeah.
Jerry was saying, it's a very one way. You don't have to deal with the emotions and the
But then
interaction.
everything becomes transactional, no? This is all a transaction.
Dr. Jerry?
Don't
It is. It is very possible that it is a transaction, but they mistake it as something more. They can mistake it as a romantic relationship because, like what Angel says, right? The tone is gone. You don't know what the other person intends or intent is, and it becomes very dangerous. So also another reason why I thought I wanted to speak about it is because sexual grooming becomes very rampant because the teens, they go on Discord and they go into a server and they start chatting with a random stranger whom they think is not a random stranger because I'm familiar with this platform. I'm very comfortable. I think by chatting to you, I get to know you. And then these people start to do sexual grooming online. And it creeps up on you and you don't hear the other tones, right? You don't, you cannot vibe the person.
The sexual connotations don't come across.
And it's not even just that
then,
too. Yeah, I think also as you grow up and then you become an adult, then all of a sudden going into the real world, getting a job, having to interact with people becomes such a chore. And I think that's also why there are so much, it's more prevalent to have like all these mental issues right now and people are shining a light on it. But it's because they're not learning from a young age how to
EQ.
interact with other human beings. Yeah, and I think that, I'm like in my 30s and I barely know how to talk to boys. And I'm not even part of the generation that has only grown up on their phone. So I can't even imagine how much harder it is or how much anxiety they must have just going out into the real world.
Dr. Jerry?
I was just thinking about this case that I have, which is a really nice case. He came to me, when he was in poly, and during COVID period, is a very, very introverted young man, but he didn't know how to dialogue with people. And it was worsened by the whole COVID. Everything was online. He couldn't make friends. He was really, really lonely. But yet he yearned to have some human connection. So he started a withdrawal, spiral all the way down, had a bout of depression. So it was so bad to the point that I had to tell his parents, please just bring him out to the coffee shop to order food. And he would stutter, he would find it so difficult, but we started from there. One person, two, and then right now, he's completing his NS and he is having a community there. He's so excited,
That's awesome.
looking forward to going to university. And we're like, okay, so, you go university, how about girls? And then he blushed. And it's so nice. I say, okay, that's another hurdle that we probably have to cross, but we're going to cross it together. We're going to learn how to talk to the opposite sex. We're going to try and, make some conversation.
And Dr. Jerry, you were just talking about how you took baby steps with one of your patients to integrate them to be not as socially awkward as what we were talking about before. So to that point, how can we take baby steps with people that we want to say draw out more into the society?
It's so difficult. So there are, and there's not enough time to talk about everything, but there's forming relationship and there's sustaining relationships. There are two parts to it. So forming relationships, I think we need to look at the nuances of what interpersonal, so the interpersonal skills, right? How do we... one of the Aspergic boys actually broke it down very well for me when he went into oral examination. So before that, he was so nervous. But when he came back after that, he was just bright and cheery. I said, what happened? He said, oh, I've got it now. When I go to... when I went to the oral examination, I faced them. And then, so it was pre-COVID, and then, there was no mask. And to have a relationship, I must look at them because they have issues with eye contact, right? Okay, so he looked. And then the next thing is, I smiled. We forget that, right? The nice bright smile, but many students forget that when they go into oral. But he said, and this was what he said, it is part of communication. I was like, wow, very good. And then he said, so I answered the questions, but I also know another thing about relationship is I need to make the other person laugh. So I told a joke. I said, you told a joke during your examination? And they said, yes. So they laughed.
Oh, nice.
And yes, he is a very high IQ boy, superior IQ, but when it comes to interaction, really, really bad until he broke it all down. And he passed with flying colors. Aced it.
Good for him.
Oh, that's
Totally
awesome.
aced it.
Well done. Well done.
So you think
That's
giving
the
them steps,
forming.
step-by-step guide?
Baby steps.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Yes.
interesting.
Wish we had more
Sustaining
time.
relationship. Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. Jerry. Wish we had all
No
day to
worries.
talk to you. But any last words?
Yes. Okay. Let's look at a little poem. Looking at unconditional love. So it's a poem titled "The Sun Never Says." Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really, really nice. Thanks so much, Dr. Jerry. We're looking forward to next week already.
No worries. I'll see all of you. Blessed week ahead.
To
You
you
too.
too.